Yo, what's up guys? I'm coming back at you with another March Madness bracket. This is my second one and I plan on filling out 3. Here we go. As you guys know, number 1 always beats number 16. I'm going Villanova. Last time I did Virginia Tech. I like to switch them up in 8 versus 9. So I'm going to go Wisconsin. Next up, Virginia versus UNC Wilmington. I'm going Virginia again. I just don't trust UNC Wilmington. Florida versus ETSU. You know what? Let's go with a little... No, just kidding, guys. Just kidding. Florida. SMU versus Providence / USC. I'm smelling a little upset here this time, guys. I think Providence is going to win. So I'm going to go Providence over SMU and USC. Next up, Baylor versus New Mexico State. Baylor every time. And Marquette versus South Carolina. I went Marquette last time. And I think this is a pretty even one. So I'm going to go South Carolina this time. And Duke is going to beat Troy every time. Alright, on to round 2. Villanova versus Wisconsin. I'm going to go Villanova. I think every time I fill out the bracket for this one, it'll be Villanova versus Duke. Virginia versus Florida. Go Florida this time. Providence versus Baylor. Baylor wins. And Duke. Alright, the Sweet 16. Villanova versus Florida. Villanova. Baylor versus Duke. Duke. This is the matchup I think that can really go either way to the Final Four. Villanova really got screwed with being in a bracket with Duke. I'm going to go Villanova this time. And that concludes our East bracket with Villanova advancing to the Final Four. Now we're on to the West region, and you already know Gonzaga, number 1 seed, 1 always beats 16. Northwestern versus Vanderbilt. I chose Northwestern last time. I'm going to go Vandy this time. Notre Dame versus Princeton. I think one of these times I'm going to choose a little upset here. Don't know why. But, yeah, this is going to be that time. Let's go Princeton. Fuck it. Next up, West Virginia versus Bucknell. West Virginia. Maryland versus Xavier. I chose Xavier last time. I'm gonna go Maryland. Here we go. This is the upset I'm gonna choose. Florida Gulf Coast beats Florida State. They won as a 15 seed. They're gonna win as a 14 seed. St. Mary's versus VCU. I chose VCU last time, and this is an even match. I'm gonna go St. Mary's and Arizona every time. Gonzaga versus Vandy. Gonzaga. You know, Gonzaga always seems to screw it up at the end for some reason, in like the Sweet 16. But they always advance pretty far, so I'm going to go Gonzaga for now. Princeton versus West Virginia. Princeton, you had a good run. I'm going to go West Virginia. Maryland versus Florida Gulf Coast University. I'm going to go Maryland. St. Mary's versus Arizona. Arizona. Gonzaga versus West Virginia. Like I said, Gonzaga always seems to mess it up in the Sweet 16, and I believe this is going to be one of those cases, West Virginia with the upset. Arizona versus Maryland, Arizona. Arizona versus West Virginia. I'm going to roll with Arizona. And that concludes the West bracket with Arizona advancing to the Final Four. Alrighty guys, we're now on to the South region. As you guys already know, number 1 always beats number 16, North Carolina. Arkansas versus Seton Hall. I believe I chose Seton Hall last time, and I like to switch it up, so I'm going to go Arkansas this time. Minnesota versus Middle Tennessee. I chose that big upset last time. I'm not choosing it this time. Minnesota. Butler versus Winthrop. Butler. Butler always seems to advance pretty far. Cincinnati versus K-State / Wake Forest. I chose the upset last time. I'm going to go Cincinnati this time. UCLA over Kent State every time. Dayton versus Wichita State. I chose Wichita State last time, and I like No, I chose Dayton last time. And I think this is an even one. I'm going to go Wichita State. Kentucky versus North Kentucky, Kentucky. Now we're on to the round. Oh, never mind. All right, now North Carolina versus Arkansas, North Carolina. Minnesota versus Butler, 4 versus 5. I'm going to go Butler. Cincinnati versus UCLA. I see UCLA. Wichita State versus Kentucky, Kentucky. All right, North Carolina, Butler. I got North Carolina this time. And I'm going to go Kentucky this time. 1 versus 2. This is the second hard bracket along with the Villanova and Duke one. And North Carolina, Kentucky is the second hardest one. All right, we got one more. I'm going to go North Carolina this time. And there we have North Carolina advancing to the Final Four in the South. Thanks. Last but not least, we have the Midwest, Kansas every time. I hope UCD wins, but I don't see that happening. One has never lost to a 16 seed. Miami versus Florida, Michigan State. This one, I'm going to go Miami. Iowa State versus Nevada. Go with that upset this time. Nevada. Purdue versus Vermont. Purdue every time. Rhode Island versus Carrington. Rhode Island did well to get in. I think this one's a super even one. I'm going to go Carrington. Oregon every time over Iona. Michigan versus Oklahoma State. I love Charles Woodson. Woodson's for Michigan, so I'm going to go Michigan. And Louisville over Jacksonville State every time. Kansas versus Miami of Florida. Kansas. Nevada versus Purdue. Nevada, good job making it past the first round, but Purdue. Carrington versus Oregon. I see Oregon advancing past this round every time. And Michigan versus Louisville. I see Louisville. Kansas versus Purdue. Kansas. Oregon versus Louisville. I'm going to go Louisville. And Kansas versus Louisville. Let's go with Kansas. And there we have Kansas advancing to the Midwest in the Final Four. Alrighty, guys, we are on to the Final Four. We have Villanova, Arizona, Kansas, and North Carolina. This one's a little favorite heavy, but they're favorites for a reason, am I right? Villanova, Arizona, Villanova, Kansas versus North Carolina. Let's go Kansas. Kansas, Villanova. Villanova, I want you to repeat, but I see Kansas pulling this out. So I have Kansas winning this one, guys. Thanks for watching. Yeah.